In the last video, we were talking about the deamination process, excretory products, and organs in general. Now we want to start with the kidneys, and we said the kidneys, they play the major role in excretion. So kidneys and urinary system, you will find it page 156. So let's start with the urinary system in general. It is made of two kidneys, the ureters, the bladder, and the urethra. And it is very important um, not to mix ureter with urethra. You have to differentiate between these two words. Don't confuse between them. Now, the kidneys are found at the back of the abdomen, and they are bean shaped and fist sized. If you look at the anatomy of the kidney, we will find that it is made mainly of three parts. The outer region here is called the cortex, and the middle region is called the medulla, and here we have the pelvis. It's like a pyramid shape. So again, the cortex, medulla, and the pelvis. And we already mentioned in chapter 9 that each organ or every organ in your body, it is supplied by blood. So here we have the renal vein and the renal artery. The renal artery supply the kidney with oxygen, and the renal vein takes the deoxygenated blood. And out of the pelvis emerges the ureter, which is the tube that brings out the urine. Now, if we look at the kidney in more details, we will find that the renal artery divides into arterioles and then smaller capillaries. And most of these capillaries are found in the cortex. This is the cortex, as we said, medulla, and then the pelvis. So, the renal artery will divide into smaller branches and then into capillaries, and those capillaries are found mostly in the cortex. Now the capillaries, they divide and coil around each other and form something condensed like a knot. We call it glomerulus. So when the capillaries divide, they coil around each other, they are wrapped around each other. Imagine that this is the capillary and it is wrapped around each other. So it somehow forms something like a knot. This is called the glomerulus. This small dot is the glomerulus. So if you zoom into this dot, you will find that it is made of capillaries that are coiled around each other. They are coiled and they are condensed, and we will mention their role in the next video. So for now, the renal artery divides into smaller capillaries. The capillaries are coiled up around each other, and it forms something called glomerulus, plural glomeruli. So either glomerulus or glomeruli. Now, if you want to define glomerulus, it is the knot of capillaries that branches out of the renal artery and it's condensed in the cortex. Now, surrounding each glomerulus, this is another figure. This is the renal artery. As we said, it branches into smaller capillaries, and these capillaries, they form a knot. Surrounding each, and we call this knot glomerulus, surrounding each glomerulus or glomeruli, the glomeruli, we have a cup-shaped structure. This is called the renal capsule, and sometimes they call it Bowman's capsule. So, surrounding the glomeruli, we have something like a cup-shaped structure, and it is called the renal capsule. This is the glomerulus. And here we have the renal capsule. This is the renal capsule. Now, because here we have capillaries, and as you know from chapter 9, the capillaries they leak out and are responsible in filtration. So here we have high pressure. We are going to explain this in details later on. But for now, only know that here we have high pressure, and this high pressure causes um, the liquid found in the capillaries to leak out, and it will be collected in the renal capsule. Emerging out of the renal capsule, we have a tube called the renal tubule. This is the renal tubule. So we have the renal artery. It branches into a knot of capillaries. We call them glomerulus. And surrounding the glomerulus, we have a cup-shaped structure called the renal capsule or Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. Emerging out of Bowman's capsule, as we said, we have a tube. It is called the renal tube. Renal is anything related to the kidneys.